I spent all my money on groceries and fuel because inflation is fun, so I can't afford to buy Celeste now, which is fine because I can just play the original, which is free and just as good. This isn't some fan remake, this is the original Celeste, released in 2015, 3 years before the actual one. And it was made in 4 days by Noel Berry and Maddie Thorson, which is the same developer who made Towerfall, like my favorite couch co-op game of all time. You're telling me someone made Towerfall, then Celeste Classic, and then actual Celeste. That's like 3 back-to-back indie game masterpieces. What a resume. I feel really good about my coding abilities now. Celeste Classic was made in 4 days. I don't even think I could make this background in 4 days, but I guess that's why I'm here. Those who can't do, make YouTube videos. So let's make a YouTube video. This is Celeste Classic, a platformer where you control this red-headed character and climb a mountain. Dead serious, it's actually one of my favorite games I played this year. There's something about the controls that just make you feel like Spider-Man. It's really responsive and just challenging enough to be engaging while not being frustrating. The music and vibe are just nice to hang out to. There were many days where I'd try go for a run and see how far I could go without dying, which was never very far, and then I would just keep playing to completion anyway. It may not look like it, but this game is pushing its engine to its absolute limits, using all 16 colors, 63 out of 64 possible sound, all the memory available to store sprites and sprite maps, and using 8,186 out of 8,192 words of code. But that's because this game engine is deliberately very limiting. It's a fantasy game console called the Pico 8. I'm incredibly interested in Pico 8, but I'm even more lazy and talentless, so I'm going to dive headfirst and just try to make my own shitty little climbing platformer as quickly as possible before I get distracted and decide to start a new project. Pico 8 games are deliberately very small. They're small enough to be saved as PNG files. Pico 8 comes with its own text editor, sprite editor, and DAW, I guess? You write all the code in Lua, which means it's easy to get started, but it also means that you have to write Lua. Celeste is a game about climbing, so I'm going to make an infinite climbing game. Basically, I'm making a doodle jump clone. Let's go. I'm going to start by making a character. I'm going to give my character a big white head and a red shirt, inspired by my favorite sequel, which definitely exists and is coming out very soon. Let's start simple and just render her to the screen. This text editor is rough. Lua is pretty wordy, which isn't usually too big a deal, but when you have like 32 columns, it's a bit hard. I hope you're ready for the least readable variable names you've ever seen. I know you can use an external editor, but I'm too lazy to do that. I just wish I could use Vim motions in here or something. Anyway, I put her on the screen and she is tiny. I have to use this other rendering function just to make her bigger. Let's get her moving side to side, nice, and maybe not let her fly off the side of the map. I create a sprite for the platforms and then spawn them at random places on the screen within a close range of a previous platform. And they look completely fucked. So the random function is not arranged like I originally thought, and instead of crashing, it just compiles and takes the first parameter only. Thank you, Lua. Okay, so the stretching algorithm is not great. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, but what I'm going to do is just do 2 calls to draw one platform. One for each of the nubs on the end and one for the center bit that stretches. Instead of moving the player down, I'm just going to apply reverse gravity to the platforms because it's easier, and when I detect a collision with the player, the platforms reverse jump, giving the impression that the player is jumping. I just need to improve my collision detection so that the player can't just phase through all the platforms immediately. And if you lose, you just fall forever, so I'm going to add a game over screen when the last platform goes above the player. This is a little too easy, so I'm going to add some enemies. They basically have the same logic as platforms, except that there's less of them, and if you touch them, the game instantly finishes. I add some clouds to make it less boring, which is also the exact same logic as the platforms, except without any collisions this time. And yeah, I can add a score as well to give the players a sense of pride and accomplishment. Ah shit, I forgot about sounds. I was very excited to use the sequencer to make some tunes, but you need the micro precision of a surgeon just to select the right notes. So this was actually one of the most frustrating experiences of my life. I just need a jump, a dying sound, and some wind for when you're falling. I also managed to make this drum beat. Not gonna lie, I think it kind of goes hard. I'm gonna throw in some 7 chords in just because those are my bread and butter. And then I was genuinely about to make a bug report because the def sound would not play properly. Until I realized that I'm an absolute idiot and that I was playing it on every frame. And here's what I have. Anyway, Celeste is on sale now, so I guess I'll just buy it. It's like $7.